Hello and welcome again. This is Robert Schein, Managing Director and Partner of Blanke Schein Wealth Management, joined with Madison Evans, Financial Advisor Associate with Blanke Schein Wealth Management, as well as our special guest today. Not only special guest, but a great friend of mine personally, Christian Ardelian. He is the Vice President and Major Gifts and Planning Director of Eisenhower Foundation here locally in the Coachella Valley. And Eisenhower is the number one. If you know anything about the hospitals in Southern California, Eisenhower is the leader. And the reason why I'm bringing Christian in today is because we're getting towards the year end. We're talking about planned giving, and making an impact with regards to how we all donate personally. So I really want to help get ahead of this for our clients by providing the strategic way, the best way of giving. One, not only to make that donation have the greatest impact for that sort of purpose that's special to you, whatever foundation or endowment or nonprofit that's important to you in your life, but also introduce strategies that we help our clients with on a higher level. Christian, how are you doing today?
Hi, doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's get to the sort of how we know each other. We've known each other for well over a decade. Formerly before this, you and I worked together in a local sort of COI capacity from a estate planning attorney background that you have for a local attorney who is great here in the Valley, Doug Martin, for so many years. And not only that, but we have kids together at Sacred Heart. And, you know, our families back in the, my family sort of immigrated from the old country, if you will, Yugoslavia back in the day. Today is Croatia for us. I know you have much of the same story, and you and I see each other in the morning in the gym as well. So we're parallel tracks on a lot of levels, not only our friendship, but more importantly, from a professional level of being able to help a lot of clients. We have a lot of clients that have donated and are looking to donate to Eisenhower as well. But yeah, Christian, thank you for joining us. And yeah, there's a lot of parallel lines here.
Right. Thank you again for having me here. Right. My background is an estate planning attorney. I practiced in that field for quite a while here in the Coachella Valley until I was asked to join the Eisenhower team. Now I run the plan giving department here at Eisenhower Health, which allows us to work with folks that want to support Eisenhower in particular, but also other foundations and nonprofits through more strategic type of plan giving to kind of look at what the benefits of future giving can actually hold right away. You know, and there's a lot of ways that you can create things to support and create big impacts that in the future for nonprofits while doing something today.
Well, it's fantastic. And again, this is the purpose of this are twofold. Number one is the education. And number two, we have a lot of clients that have asked a lot of questions about Eisenhower specifically. So maybe we can, you know, if we have the opportunity to help out and provide some education about Eisenhower and how you guys run this. But more importantly, taking a step back, you know, there's all these fields of donating. And with our clients, again, you could always write a check, and writing the check and giving cash or check to your favorite nonprofit, if you will, especially as we get in the fourth quarter of this year and everyone's charitably inclined and want to make that impact to that charity that's important to them. Don't forget that there are several other ways that we can, if we're thoughtful, if we have that open communication and plan for it, work on it. Not only from the plan giving side that we're going to cover today with Christian, but more importantly, like let's say a donor advised fund or donating stock with low cost basis directly to that charity. And we do that all day long. In fact, the last couple of months, that's all we're doing for our clients is ultimately saying, hey, listen, if you bought a stock at $10 a share, and now it's worth $1,000 a share over time, don't pay the capital gains. Let's send it direct to that charity so you get that maximum impact, you get that tax benefit, but more importantly, you're not hitting the capital gain on your side. So it's just a smart tax strategy as well as giving strategy all the way around. But today, let's kick it off with Madison's got a question for you and how we're going to get sorts of information from all of our audience.
Yes. Can you start by just going over exactly what plan giving is, what it means to you?
Sure. Well, I prepared a couple of slides here if we can share some of those, but we can kind of go through it just briefly, what kind of plan giving really is. And plan giving is just really the integration of personal financial and estate planning goals in kind of merging those two together so you can satisfy like a donor's intent of what they want to do for their future. Maybe they want to leave a legacy, and it's really just to kind of checkbox a few of those things. A lot of people, they think about what they want to do, the hard work that they've done over the years, and now they think about, well, what am I going to do with all of this hard work, everything that I've created, these assets that I have, and what's the best way to either create an opportunity to support my family, to support people I love, but also to support things that I care about, such as charities. So for me, plan giving is very interesting, just because you're utilizing strategy. You're really kind of figuring out what will be the best tactic to create the biggest possible impact in the future, but also create a legacy today, and also really benefit from a tax deduction right now. Utilizing what the tax code is, and using assets now to benefit your bottom line, but also to create a biggest impact you can in the future. So I think plan giving is a great way to go about that.
Christian, what are the common plan gifts that are out there in the world today?
Yeah, there's several types of common gifts. Typically ones that we do here at Eisenhower Health. Some of them are a little bit more sophisticated, and some are very, very simple. But the most typical common plan gift is really the easiest thing, which is just a bequest. If someone wants to leave something in their estate plan, they can put it in their will or their trust, and they can just put it inside of a bequest. You don't necessarily get an immediate tax deduction for that, but that is something that you can do, and it's just easy to do. The other types of pretty common plan gifts is a charitable gift annuity. It may be for some folks, and it may not be for others, but it's utilizing sometimes either cash that you have sitting around, or maybe a highly appreciated asset. You're converting it, you're putting it into some sort of a charitable gift annuity, which allows income, if you want the income to come to you, well, hopefully something at the end of life or at the end of a term will then go to a charity to create that impact. But what's really great is some other types of vehicles, which will allow you to really benefit and use strategies such as the charitable remainder unit trust. I love that type of vehicle. It's a great way to utilize it. It's a great resource for folks, especially for very low basis assets, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But that's another typical one. The other one that we're seeing a lot in right now, especially the way things are going in real estate, for example, in California, the value of real estate has skyrocketed, as we all know, and it's not going down. It's just, at least not, we don't see it anytime real soon. But they have, a lot of folks have one of their main assets, which is their primary residence or maybe a vacation rental, and they're utilizing real estate such as their primary vacation home to create this thing called the life estate, which will give you an immediate tax deduction right now, which can help out your bottom line, maybe offset some capital gains, or do some strategy there, and simplify your affairs, and also create a big impact to the charity after passing. So those are the typical ones that we've seen right now in our neck of the woods here at Eisenhower in particular. There is some other ones as well, but those are the most common plan gifts right now.
Wonderful.
Before we get into some of the finer details of all these vehicles, can we talk about some of the common lingo so everyone listening knows exactly what we're talking about?
Right. Thank you for that. Yeah, a lot of times you need to know, what are all these buzzwords? Sometimes the buzzwords, they sound great, but you don't really know what they mean. So I usually like to talk to folks and tell them, hey, we're going to talk about some strategy. There's going to be some buzzwords. I'd want to share that with you now, just so you know what we're going to be talking about, because some of it could be a little bit higher level. So these are some of the fancy buzzwords that we talk about. Some of them already a lot of people know, but there's the capital gains tax. There's two types of capital gains. There's long-term and short-term. The easiest way to explain it is long-term is everything over a year. The reason that's important is the amount of tax that you're going to pay for an asset that you've purchased. There's different percentages of tax that you're going to pay if it's considered long-term or short-term. Short-term is everything under a year. Long-term is things that are a year or more. We also talk about this thing called a cost basis or a tax basis. Those are for assets that you purchase. A couple of things happen there. So it's either what you purchase the asset at, that's usually your cost basis. But there's also a tax basis, because what happens is, depending on the asset, sometimes you take depreciation against that asset. For example, real estate. That's a great strategy that a lot of people use. So your tax basis can actually start going down. And when you sell an asset, then many times you have to recapture that tax or with that deduction. And that is the capital gains portion of it. There's also this thing called a step up in basis. This typically happens when somebody passes. When you hold an asset for your lifetime, and your loved ones, your heirs, maybe your spouse, or other heirs, receive that asset, you get this thing called a step up in basis. So that means whatever what your cost basis was of that particular asset, when it gets inherited, it gets a step up in basis. So it gets a new cost basis, whatever that fair market value is. So that's important. Also, the fair market value basically means, well, it's pretty simple. What is it worth today? What's the fair market value? How much can I put this up for sale, and what can I get for it? What's the appraised value, right? Present value is an interesting term. That is basically, in regards to plan giving in particular, it's when we receive something in the future, how much is it worth today? Because obviously $1 today is not worth $1 20 or 30 years from now because of inflation and all that. So the present value is a formula that says, okay, we're going to get such and such in the future. This is how much it's worth today in present value. And the last thing we talk about many times is a thing called estate tax. Estate tax is the last piece of tax that you're going to get taxed on. Everybody get taxed for their whole career and lives, but it doesn't end there. So after you've been taxed several times, there's also that estate tax if you're in that world. So it's basically a death tax, some people call it. It's anything over the exemption amount, which we'll talk about. It's an additional tax on those assets that you have in your estate. So that's some of the common lingo.
That's all great information to know. Thanks for sharing that with us. Let's get into some of the finer details of bequest.
Yeah. So the first thing about a bequest, it's pretty great. It's a great way. It's a very simple way to say, you know what, I really care about my heirs or an institution, and I want to give them a gift. I don't know where I am today. I mean, I know what I'm available to do now, but I don't know where my life's going to take me, right? So a bequest is really a gift to a charity after the person passes away. This is the simplest type of planned gift, and one of the easiest ones to really implement. Many people will desire to benefit a charity, but maybe they're unable to donate property or certain things while they're alive. So what they'll do is say, I'm going to leave something in my will or trust, and then it's going to benefit that particular charity. Sometimes people do it by a specific amount. Sometimes they do it by percentage. Percentage is usually a great way to go about it, because you may or may not necessarily know what your estate may be worth at the time of your passing. So it's a very simple way to do it. There's also beneficiary designation forms. That's basically a bequest too. So if you have like an IRA or you have a retirement account, that's pretty simple to do. You can just contact, Rob Schein and tell him, Rob, we have a retirement plan. I really like to change my beneficiary designation form. I want these heirs to receive this much, and I also want a charity to receive this much. Those are usually pretty good if you do want to create an impact for a charity in particular, wherever you care for. A beneficiary designation form is a great way to do it. It's very simple. It's quick. It's outside of the estate. It gets delivered relatively quickly after passing. But the best part about it is the tax part. So many times you use these retirement accounts where you are deferring tax. You're deferring things that you pay for. And then usually when you start getting paid out of those retirement accounts, that's when you start paying that tax. Well, some things have changed recently in the Secures Act and the Secures Act 2.0, where your retirement account is really one of the best assets. If you wanted to support a charity, that would be a great tool to utilize, because when the charity receives it, there's no tax. Whatever's in there, whatever much you want to give, that's the full amount that's going to go to the charity, and they don't pay any tax. So you completely bypass that. So that's some of the benefits of a bequest.
Very good. What other things should we consider?
Well, I think the way to consider is really look at what your end goal is. What is it that you're trying to do? Is it, what's your current status? Do you want to support that charity? Do you want to have flexibility, lifetime flexibility? Because that's what it does. When it's in a bequest, things may change. Your life may change. Relationships change sometimes. And that's something that you can put in now, and it's something that can be also changed and altered later. If you do have an estate tax issue, which that bar right now is set pretty high, it's a nice amount, but can very well change coming up. Anything over that is that estate tax exemption would also be a deduction as well. So things to consider is, have you sat down? Have you thought about it? Is this something that you sat down with your loved one and discussed what you want to do? And another thing that I like to actually talk with my donors are, depending on how much you want to really support the people that you care about. What I mean by that is sometimes you got to ask yourself, how much is enough? How much is enough to wanting to support people that you care about, making sure that they get what you think that they deserve, but also not to the point where you take away that fire from them, that desire to be successful, that desire to go out there in the real world and do something with it. So sometimes that's something to really consider. Sit down, talk about it, and say, how much is enough to give to your loved ones?
Well, we have these conversations almost on a daily basis here with our clients at Blanke, Schein Wealth Management, and they're very confidential, and they're very intimate in terms of the family sort of dynamic. And I will tell you, there's the conversation, there's not a one size fits all.
Right.
And I will tell you, the most successful families start now and have that conversation, whatever it may be, whatever it ends up to be, and whatever the family decides to support, and how it all sort of shakes out. One thing I do know, Christian, is unanimous today in today's world, and I've been at this for 25 years now, and it just seems to build and build and build every year. It just doesn't matter. Is our donors, our clients want control. Okay. Mm-hmm. They want flexibility, they want control, they want smart ideas that constantly helps them stay ahead of sort of what Washington throws at us by changing the laws, if you will, every 2 to 3 years. And the more money you have, the more you have to work at it, and you have to have your team of advisors together to provide smart solutions. So you maintain flexibility, you maintain control, but the unanimous decision, I can get pretty much all of my clients on board to say, hey, listen, they want the IRS out of their estate, their estate plan, whether they give it to their kids, their grandkids, or multiple generations, and or charity. The third bucket, which is the IRS bucket, that's what we're planning against.
That's right.
And so that's where you and everyone else in your position and work with us as advisors to help our clients just figure out what options are there. It's the education, and then we can go from there to decide what is right for you. And I'll tell you, there's a lot more strategies. Let's get to the next strategy and discuss that.
I love what you said about the buckets, Rob, because you're so right. There is those 3 buckets. It's your heirs, it's the government, and it's charities. And the whole goal is to really fill up the charity and your heirs bucket as much as you possibly can with strategy. So it's a very good point.
Yeah.
The next part we discussed that was common is a charitable gift annuity. Some charities do it and some don't, but it's a nice way of doing it. It's pretty simple. It's utilizing, really, you can use all kinds of assets to support it, to make a charitable gift annuity, but basically that's a contract with the charity. You have to be a little cautious of the charity that you're working with, because it's the charity that's really backing up the charitable gift annuity. This may not be for everybody, but for some, it might be a great option. Basically, you would be donating or giving cash or appreciated asset in exchange for a charitable gift annuity that is guaranteed by the charity. So you have to look at, how healthy that charity is, because they have to back that charity. It's a contract, and it's basically, you create it and you're going to get an income, a payment, and that payment can be done monthly or quarterly or semi-annually or annually. You do receive an immediate tax deduction when you create it. So now we're going to get into a little bit of deductions and what you're going to receive. So this is one of the gifts that you do get a deduction up front. And depending on what type of asset you fund that charitable gift annuity, there's a very good chance that the majority of that payment that you receive can also be tax-free. So it's a good way to go about it. The rule of thumb usually is whatever you decide to put in, is the charity will ultimately receive about half of that. So hypothetically, if you do a $20,000 charitable gift annuity at the end of the term or at the end of life, about half of that will go to the charity, and the charity won't receive that until that happens. So it's a good strategy for some folks, but you have to make sure that the quality of the health or the charity is able to support that. The benefits of that is, well, there is a gift to the charity. There is a charitable deduction. They're fixed payments. So regardless of the way the market goes, it is going to be a fixed payment. It could be for 1 or 2 lives. And ideally, this is for folks that are much older. Okay. The older you are, the higher the payment that you're going to receive. It's not a percentage that the charity sets, really. It's set up by an institution.
Yeah, it's a table that literally just looks at sort of a payout amount based upon your remaining life schedule, if you will. Again, these are great to set up for the right reasons.
For the right.
And again, those are all on a one-on-one conversation for our clients. Why don't you fast forward and go to the next? Because I know we're short on time, and I want to let our clients know that what we're going to do is, this is just a high-level overview, and the purpose of this is to say, hey, whet your appetite on this topic, this topic, this topic, and then we can come back later. In fact, we're going to continue to do these series in greater depth with a little bit more color, so real-world examples that Christian and I have been able to help put context to clients that we've helped, and how actually that looks, and sort of all the ins and outs as it relates to that. And then we're also going to have sort of in-person events here, whether it be at our office here in Palm Desert or around the Valley, just to continue the conversation. But yeah, tell us about the next strategy, Christian.
Yeah, I really like this next one a lot. I think it's a great strategy. It works out really well, and it could be used for so many different types of assets, and there's a lot of benefits to it. It's the Charitable Remainder Unit Trust, the CRT or the CRUD. Okay, and this is something that was created a while back, where basically it allows you to put any type of highly appreciated asset. It could be stock, it could be real estate, it could be art, it could be anything that you might have purchased a while or a long time ago with a very, very low basis, and now it's worth a lot more. If you can put that asset in this trust sells the asset tax-free. Okay, you get an appraisal. It's very easy to do. You once you get the appraisal and you put the asset in the CRT, you get an immediate tax deduction. So this could be very good. For example, we're getting close to the end of the year, and you might have an asset. Maybe it could be a piece of real estate. It could be a vacant piece of land or something. that you are looking to, maybe something that you can't liquidate that quickly, but you need that deduction now to help out your bottom line. You can create the CRT, put that asset in there. The deduction is received at the date of the gift is made to the CRT. You have great control over this as well. You can self-trustee if you want, or you can choose a trustee. Once it's in there, you sell it, you liquidate it. Now the trust itself is holding the liquidity of that particular asset. Okay, and then those funds are now invested in the open market. It's invested with you or with your advisor, and you can diversify things. I'll give you an example too, if I may. We had some folks that had some really old stock, had it for a long time, and they didn't want to sell it because, well, capital gains tax. So they were able to put it in the CRT, sell it, diversify, and they actually were able to produce more income than they were from the original stock. Another similar scenario is we had some folks that bought that had a duplex in Manhattan Beach that bought it in 1971. They bought it at a very low basis at 150,000. They didn't want to sell it at 1.8 million because they depreciated it to zero. Remember those buzzwords. They have a very low basis. They would have recaptured all of that and paid a huge capital gain on the sale of that asset. We put it in the trust. We sold it tax-free. The whole liquidity went to their new advisor, and they were able to invest it in the open market. And they ended up receiving more than double the income that they were producing from being landlords, and they didn't have to be landlords anymore. So it's really a great tool. It works very well. It's flexible, and you can have that set up to pay you for a number of years or for a lifetime. And it's you can actually choose what that payout's going to be as well. And then usually whatever is left at the end of that term is what goes to the charity, which then again could create a pretty big impact for the charity.
Well, I will tell you from experience on our side, that's a strategy that's a home run for all the right reasons, especially on the commercial real estate side, where there might have some buildings that aren't selling and they're not leased out, and sort of clients are getting older, the husband's done it all as it relates to sort of the commercial real estate side of things, but he's sort of losing a step here and there because he's spending more time on his medical than he has the opportunity to spend on sort of dealing with toilets, tenants, and trash in the building itself. And so the wife is like, hey, what do we do? And they come to us as the advisor and say, hey, listen, we may want to consider an opportunity to create and structure a CRT. Christian, I know there's a lot more to go into on that. I don't know if we have time today to do that.
Sure.
But really a point of clarification on the CRT, because I can see this fast forward, let's say a little bit more than 24 months from right now, as we have the estate law change if Congress fails to act, right? So the state exemption. Right now it's a lot, 25, 26 million by the time we get to that point, and it's going to be cut well in half. And that's going to put a lot of clients and a lot of sort of people scrambling to figure out how they can keep their estate well within being taxed over and above that amount by 50 cents to every dollar. So there's going to be a lot of last minute. I mean, I don't think you or I are going to be going on vacation at the end of 2025 to midnight of 2026, because clients are going to be using their estate planning attorneys, their advisors, and guys just like you to be like, hey, help us out. So when you set up a CRT and you donate, let's say that $1 million building, you have to have that appraisal in hand done, completed before you make that assignment to that CRT?
Usually it's a good thing to have it done. You have a certain amount of reasonable time to get that appraisal. You got to do it before the end of the year that you're going to take the deduction in. So hypothetically, if you're going to do the CRT and donate that particular asset in January, you're going to have it ready before you're going to do your taxes, right? Now, remember, it's the date of the gift. So it's the value, the appraised value at the date that you actually make that gift. That's what's important about it. In regards to the sunset, the sunset's at the end of 2025, beginning of 26, and it's going to be There will be some scrambling going on. We'll sure see what we're going to do then. But there is some great strategy to think about, and there is a way that you can start using some of that exemption now, because ultimately, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, plain and simple. So there's some ideas and some thoughts of making certain types of gifts a part of your estate now to loved ones or things like that. So you can start utilizing that part of that exclusion. But it'll be interesting things. Now, when you create the CRT and you take this asset, put it in the CRT, it is considered outside of your estate. So now what you've done is you've taken an asset that was inside of your estate, which could very well be taxed at almost 50%, right? You've taken it out of your estate. It's no longer part of it. So that estate tax issue is no longer an issue for this particular asset. So it's considered outside, and you can create a very nice deduction right away, and not worry about what that estate tax might be when they take that exemption down.
Wonderful. Christian, why don't we do this? We'll continue the other strategies on a part 2. But before we let you go today, why don't you tell us what sort of the benefits of working with Eisenhower would be with some of the strategies we discussed and implementing, oftentimes, listen, I don't have a building in my back pocket or $1 million to donate to you. But I do have a lot of clients, let's say, on the other hand, that say, can I still donate to Eisenhower? And if so, what are the best, are there different levels? Give us the high level 2-minute overview.
Yeah. Rob, thank you for that. We're so blessed to be in this valley, and we're so blessed for the donors that we have that support our institution. We are a 5-star hospital. We are a Medicare hospital, and everything that you see when you pass by Eisenhower is all done through philanthropy. And there's all types of philanthropy. We are. It's very important for us to give the proper recognition for all the folks that care for us. There's all different types of levels. We love the annual fund donors. They're the ones that could write that check, or maybe give that deduction, or maybe write that check, or that stock maybe, or even that required minimum distribution from their IRA, a portion of it, to satisfy a QCD, which is a qualified charitable distribution, right? That's at our annual fund. We love to recognize those folks. It's really the day-to-day folks that allow us to keep the lights on. Then there's other types of different groups. We have the Circle of Stars, which is a great group of folks that get together, and their idea is they have a particular piece of machinery that they are going to be fundraising for that particular year. It's usually life-saving pieces of equipment that are used all the time. It could be used by me or you or who knows who in this community. There's also folks that remember us through an estate plan, which we're kind of like we're talking some strategies today. That's part of our legacy society. Those are folks that want to remember us through an estate plan or through a plan gift. We'd love to recognize them too. It doesn't matter the size. We just want to make sure that if you thought about us, then we want to make sure you recognize you. There's also 2 other types of recognition that we do. One type that a lot of folks have been asking me about is this thing called 24/7, something we set up about 20 years ago. And it's our way of actually having a tangible thank you back to what we consider our major donors. And major donors could be all different kinds. It could be by cash or check, or even an estate plan gift. But it's our way of saying thank you back to them. We have a team of nurses that basically help you through the entire healthcare system. Sometimes that's scary because it's a big place, and they help you get through the healthcare system quickly, adequately, and just make it a lot easier for you, getting you specialists, getting you tests done, everything that you may need. And there's also our ambassador level, which is your common household names, the ones that you see on there that we appreciate a lot. And they really allow us to make a big impact for this valley. And those are for a significant large gifts of $1 million or more. So all different types, just come talk to us, because we have something for everybody.
You've always been wonderful. You've always taken great care of those conversations with our clients, and whether it's right for Eisenhower specifically, Christian's always been a value added resource for Blanke Schein Wealth Management, to educate our clients and to say, hey, wait a minute, this might not be the fit with us based upon what you want to do. Let's go down to your local church, synagogue, or whatever's important to make that donation the most impactful it can be. So I really appreciate that, our friendship, and from that standpoint too. We're going to have a lot more engagement, both with private client events with Blanke Schein Wealth Management, and having Christian here and educating more and more. And then we're going to have more follow-up so we can go deeper on some of these high-level planning, but tax smart strategies that we've seen firsthand, especially working with our clients here. I've seen not only we've created some strategies where they've given at every level for Eisenhower, but also when Eisenhower is in action. I can't tell you the amount of stories where clients are saying they literally saved my life over there. And when a husband says that in front of a wife, and we all had the opportunity to be part of it, it's something special. So that's why we do what we do, right, Christian?
That's right.
Awesome. Madison, thank you. We're going to do round 2, and she's going to beat you up with a lot more questions next time around. But Christian, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. And for folks that are watching, again, this is ultimately purely educational based. And if you want to discuss what's right for your personal situation, we're happy to do so on a one-on-one level. And you know where to find us. So thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.